I'm Lauren Kosarek. I run communications for HackerOne.
I'm Justin Calmus. I'm the Vice President of Hacker Success at HackerOne.
So we are here to talk about bug bounty diversity.
Yes.
So I will be interviewing Justin. So to kick us off, Justin, why don't you tell us how you got started with bug bounty programs?
Yeah, so I actually, I was the CIO at Zenefits, where we ran a bug bounty program. And it was immensely successful in the community. And I owe a lot of that to actually an individual here, Max Staples, who will be speaking later today. But one of the things that we were very involved in was the community effort. And that was extremely important to me, as well as Mac, is that we really pushed hard to bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm. So when talking about that community, why does bug bounty hacker diversity matter?
You know, I think a lot of folks tend to think of the hacker as being dressed all in black, sitting in the basement and trying to sell stuff on the black market, you know, but it's really not that to this day. We have a diverse group of hackers all over the planet. And, you know, just like Luke mentioned, we have different types of hackers where they focus on different types of vulnerabilities. We also have different hackers that focus on whether or not it's going to be their full-time job or something that they see as a challenge. So it's really interesting when you think about the entire world and how you bridge that gap with so many talented individuals.
So when we talk about security and the diversity of skill set, how does a diverse skill set impact the security and the types of bugs you're going to find?
So a good program really looks at what is the data that they're trying to protect. And when you have a very wide scope, it really helps secure your data. And what I mean by that is there are all kinds of different hackers. And one of the things that Luke mentioned again is that we do have the web hackers that actively look for web vulnerabilities, but we do also have network security hackers out there. We have infrastructure security hackers out there. And when you combine and look for all of these different types of skill sets and you have such a large scope, your company's risk profile drops down significantly. So it's about how do you leverage the talent of so many hackers globally, and how do you really leverage and build that community for your company?
So we know Luke Young will work for T-shirts, but how do you set up a program to incentivize top talent and be competitive?
I just want to clarify, Luke also works for a lot more than T-shirts.
Yes, he does.
But, you know, I think the top programs today really help encourage and provide additional resources to the hackers, especially programs that provide value into things like reconnaissance work. A good example of that would actually be Uber's treasure map that they have published. It's incredibly useful to a hacker that spends a lot of their time trying to find vulnerabilities. And typically hackers will take a deep look into a program, write down everything. They want to know everything about the stack. But if they get that up front, that cuts down their time significantly. It really helps the hacker from the hacker perspective. It really helps drive different types of diversity as well. Because when you know the entire stack, you know the different focuses you need to pay attention to as a hacker. So even from the network security perspective, you can even find things like VPNs, which are very common for hackers to try and get onto.
So we talked a bit about diversity with skill set, but what about the individuals?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's so funny you're asking me. But honestly, there are so many different types of hackers out there. You know, United States right now for the bug bounty programs has kind of the larger group, and then right after that is India, So if you think about like follow the sun methodology, if you really want to leverage capturing all these hackers and capturing the ability that they have, you really need to think of how can you protect your company data and your company assets 24/7. And the bug bounty programs out there today allow that to happen. I mean, you get to utilize resources globally constantly to ensure that your company is secure. So, we have great hackers in India. We have fantastic hackers in Brazil. We have people buying cars at the age of 15 with their bug bounty money. So it's absolutely insane what some of these people can do.
So one thing that we're seeing, because the community is so diverse and we have hackers as young as 13 to security veterans, kind of whose job is it to help educate, and is there some responsibility on the organization?
Yeah, I think it's everybody's job to educate, but I do think that it's not necessarily the company's responsibility. However, if a company wants to get involved in the community, they should pay very close attention to it. They should make sure that they spend the time to get to know the hackers, have that really close relationship with them. An example of that would be when I was at Zenefits, I actually got a text message one night from a hacker. I think it was around 2 a.m. And he said, hey, you may want to look into this report that I just submitted. And it's never a good thing when you get one of those in the morning. But, it makes me feel really good to know that I have that relationship built, that someone can text me at any point in time and you take action on that and they just have your back. So building that community is incredibly a powerful thing that a company can leverage.
Mm-hmm. So knowing what we know about diversity and the power of many in the bug bounty community, how can we encourage hackers to play by our rules?
I think there's a common misconception that hackers do not play by the rules. These hackers today, for the most part, going back to Luke's slide, thank you, Luke. It works so well. But going back to Luke's slide, you do have that group that do this for full time. This is how they make their living, and they are the breadwinners in some cases, and they don't want to risk losing all of that for going down the wrong path. So I think there's really a misconception that there aren't these great group of hackers out there. A lot of the hackers that we have out there are fantastic, and this is how they make their living on a day in, day out basis.
So you talked about Uber's treasure map, but I'm curious, the companies that are doing it best, what are they doing?
I would say, for the most part, the best companies have the widest scope possible. And what that actively encourages is each researcher can take the time to really get to know each company and all the assets that they have, and really be able to protect the company day in and day out. So like a bad example of that would be a company that puts up their bug bounty program. They have a small scope, and then they exclude all severe vulnerabilities. An example of that would be they put in a domain, and then they say cross-site scripting is out of scope. CSRF, CSRF is out of scope. Things like that are fundamental and considered some of the most critical vulnerabilities out there.
Mm-hmm. So as we look at bug bounty programs and the community and being competitive, how do bug bounties compete with the black market on price?
I don't think that bug bounties in general don't really compete with the black market. Black market are a different set of hackers. We have a great group of hackers that it's just overall very different type of market. So not to comment specifically on the black market, but I think that the hackers today make so much money otherwise that there's no need or reason to go down that path. we have hackers making in upwards of $500,000 a year. Why would you risk that to go down this path? So overall, we don't have that fundamental problem. And we do ensure that we measure and hold hackers accountable for what they submit to companies as well.
Last question for you. So if someone is looking to supplement their security team or hire, is a bug bounty program in their community a way to do that?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that again after Luke's presentation. I think there's a pretty good evidence here that yes, having a bug bounty program can help you hire. This individual worked at Uber and LinkedIn. So I think, yeah, it's a pretty good evidence. But yeah, absolutely. So building that relationship is key. And even having access to some of the data, LinkedIn Recruiter and whatnot, if you look for application security engineers, you find out that it's one of the hardest jobs to ever hire for. And building that relationship with the community to say that, hey, this company takes their program so seriously. On top of that, they have a great team to work with. Maybe I can make an introduction, or maybe you can submit something that will inherently get you a job there. And that's actually how I landed my job at Zenefits, is I submitted vulnerabilities. They didn't have a bug bounty program yet, but they were like, wow, why don't you come work for us? So I absolutely think it's the right way, the right method to take that approach is get that bug bounty program, build it up to where it's so successful the community wants to come work for you.
Thanks, Justin. I've been wanting to ask you these questions for a long time, so appreciate the time.
Thank you.